Good morning. Thank you for all attending today. I am the last talk before the open house and lunch. So a wise person says, be careful when you get between people and their food. So I'll try to be careful with this presentation, which, I think we've had three very interesting presentations so far that talk about different new ways of thinking about software design, software maintenance, analysis that are giving rise to the creation of new tools and techniques for automating different software development processes. So the talk I'm going to give now is going to sort of give you a contrasting view of a project which is focused on the practice of building software. Okay, so I don't mean the practice in general, I mean the practice of building a specific software system. In this case, it's going to be a game environment for learning about classical music. This is a project that we've been doing with our sponsor and partners, the San Francisco Symphony. And so this is sort of games as software kind of a talk. But before we get into this, I'd just like to say, especially for people who are non-local industry people, we have quite a bit of other work going on in game research in virtual worlds. We have a new a new institute for games in virtual worlds, and for people from industry, we have a new study that was we received funding from NSF to produce, which sort of presents a 5 to 10 year view of where we think computer games and virtual worlds are going from a research agenda. So we have copies of these, which we'll make available during the open house. So I'm going to talk today about this project that our friends at San Francisco Symphony have christened as SFS Kids, which is a software system portal which focuses on providing fun and games with music. And when I say music, I'm generally going to focus on only classical music. And we're targeting a very specific user base, which is young students who are 8 to 13. So these are students who are already assumed to have, for example, the skills to know how to read, because you will see, textual reference materials. So we're not going to try to deal with, kids who may not be able to read, although certainly they can. We've done some testing with kids as young as 5 with this, and kids as old as 60 or more. So, but one of the things we're going to talk about for given this audience is what are some of the software engineering challenges that came up in trying to build a software system that does this kind of thing. So I want to focus on a half dozen of the challenges. There are more. Okay. For example, not on this list are things like how do you deal with high quality data, by which we mean music recordings from the San Francisco Symphony. We spent an inordinate amount of time dealing with intellectual property constraints about what we could do to their music. Okay. This had to do with the musicians union and royalty payments and what have you, which took quite a bit of time and actually impacted how certain things were done in the software. But here I just want to kind of give you some ideas of what we'll do, and we'll go through each of these. So, one of the things that we teach in software engineering is sort of the primacy of well-articulated software system requirements and specifications. Where if you don't know what your requirements are, if you don't know what this functionality is, how do you know what you've built is any use? Okay. Well, in what we found in building this system is that there's far more preponderance of non-functional requirements that we had to attend to. That is, if you will, the functional requirements were fairly easy and straightforward to address. You have to have systems that, for example, will play pre-recorded music. I mean, We've all seen that software. We all have a device in our pocket that will do that, so that doesn't sound too challenging. But if you know, when they come to us and say, well, whatever it is you do, it's got to be fun. Okay, so what kind of a requirement is must be fun or should be fun? Okay, start to get the sense, well, that sounds very qualitative, sort of like beauty, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder, so fun is in the experience of the user. So we're not going to know about whether it's fun or not until it's built, and we put it in front of people, especially our target demographic, and watch their experience and sort of see, do they seem to be having fun? Okay, because if you ask them questions, we find out it's things like, well, who else is in the room with them? You know, if mom or dad's in the room, you know, and we're at a music school testing them, then they're not quite sure if they should say, wow, this is a lot more fun than my music lessons, which we actually had kids say, which then we kind of had those scolding looks from parents like, no, we're paying for this. But also, you know, to just, you know, move on, the symphony has an outreach program, and they're really targeting primarily inner city youth in this age group. So we can't think about building software that has a large footprint for like a modern PC gaming computer, you know, with high-powered graphics accelerators, or, you know, 6, 8 cores or gigabytes of memory. You know, it's like we have to think about machines that are about 5 PCs 5 years old or more, you know, which have fairly modest equipment. Because if you go to an inner city school, if they have computers, they generally do have computers. They're not, you know, a 2012 model computer. It's a 2007 model computer. So a lot of our testing has to be done using, we're actually using an 800 megahertz Dell PC from 1998, just to sort of create, you know, what we might have to deal with. And then they also tell us things like, oh, and whatever you do, it sort of has to fit into national music education standards, which that's these 9 items listed here. I don't know if you can read them or not. But, oops, sorry, wrong key. Oh, doesn't want to do it, I'll stop it. Okay, so you see things like, you know, as you probably are aware, especially if you have had children, public school system has basically almost got rid of music education, okay, among other things. And so if kids are going to have music, informal music education experience, and formal music education means they're not studying or studying a musical instrument like piano or violin. They're not taking classes or joining the school band. It's more like, why should we care about music? Can music make the world a better place? So again, think about, this is something you're going to have to try to deliver through software, because, if you will, the current social institutions we have for education, public education at least, have moved away from them. Okay, so what does it mean to be able to read and notate music if you're not like a music student? Okay, or sing along with others. Okay, so, you know, hey guys, whatever you do, address these as more non-functional requirements. Okay, so we'll have a demo where we're going to show all these things. I won't try to go through them today, and I'm just picking up a few. But, you know, if you see things, one of the things that they asked about was, so they want kids to be able to learn about music. So this is sort of an experience in navigating so for those of you who know about, you know, okay, what we're doing is, you know, this is an interface for navigating hypergraph. Okay, where, you know, you see all the usual graphic manipulation tricks. that, again, I'm not going to try to give you the full-on experience because you get the idea of hopefully what's going on. But, many of you have seen, these are just Java algorithms for doing spring-loaded graphs. So they have these, these abilities to move things around. Okay, so this is just, it's a way to have some interaction with music. We have a really nice capability. Oops, let me go over here and stop this. Okay. Where we can I have any music performance capability, but again, I sort of fit that at least no skill category. And what you sort of heard going on in the background is you actually heard sampled musical instruments, actually from the Vienna State Orchestra, which is one of the premier sources of that. So we're not doing sound synthesis; we're actually giving people authentic instrumentation because kids can tell right away if it's the real thing or not. And if you've ever done something like with a violin where you've never played it before, we keep you out of that experience of doing things like dragging the bow across multiple strings, which give you those awful sounding screeches and harmony. So you only hear well-played music. Okay, so that's kind of a scaffolding and empowering strategy, we think. It's the symphony. San Francisco Symphony is one of the world's most recorded symphony orchestra. They tell us they have about 70 CDs that they've published. That's a major source of revenue for them. And one of the things that their superstar conductor, Michael Tilson Thomas, is known for is, he among other conductors have a rather flamboyant style of conducting. So there's an ability, this I won't be able to go through because of the time, but you start to notice things like, okay, we're going to give you time measures. You see some things have, different time measures. We're going to actually, much like you saw me playing the violin, I can go in and now conduct music. This takes a bit of a more than 5 or 10 second setup, so I'll leave it for the showcase. But see, we've got the here the tutoring mode going on, and so you see the eagle character because we were guided away from having human in-game avatars because that can connote things like gender or diversity issues, which they wanted to avoid. And you sort of see that, okay, you see, so we're doing a 4/4 tempo, okay, here. And you, of course, replicate that, with your... And this is something, I'm doing it on a touchpad, which is rather awkward. It's much easier to do it on a mouse, okay, kind of a thing. So, but during the demo, you should come down and try these things because they're really a lot of fun to do. So, one of the other things that they asked us for, which we replied with much frustration, is they said they don't want any servers, anything that they have to administer. We said, well, this is going to be a portal. There are stuff that has to go up, and they're like, zero maintenance. That's what they asked us for. They wanted zero maintenance side. Is like, okay, I want to win the lottery. It's software. There is no such thing as zero maintenance. But that got operationalized as they don't want databases. They don't want content management servers for this. They have those in other things. So we were faced with the challenge of, okay, so if we want kids to be able to like create music that they can share, because remember that was in one of the standards, well, that's really kind of easy to do if you have a database environment where you have like user accounts, so you can have people create assets which then are persistent and they can come back to or they can share with somebody else. But they said, nope, can't do that. No, no content management, no database. So we were challenged to come up with a scheme, which the one we picked was to use encoded universal resource identifiers. So those are those very long URLs, because it turns out now modern browsers like Google Chrome and Firefox, which run on these old machines, can give you, I guess in the case of Firefox, it's unlimited or near unlimited as to how long the URL. But for sake of discussion, even if you have a 512 character identifier, that you can encode quite a bit of information. These are done not by people. This is, of course, done algorithmically. But what it means is that you can create an asset that you can export, like through mail, copy and paste and drop in a mail. So that's how we sort of do handoffs. So you can compose something, you can send it to your grandmother or your favorite uncle or your friend on the other side, and they can poof it up and play it and modify it and then send it back to you. Okay, because we really like the idea of having kids be able to play with music and modify music. The San Francisco Symphony was like, don't you dare. Don't you dare have those kids be able to modify our music. That's, again, that's a quality union thing going on. So it's like, okay, we could have kids mod the classical music, but we don't as a design choice. But what we ended up with, and this is just about finished here, is that we ended up designing things so that we can, we try to do reasonable software engineering. So these, what we did is really we made this a platform. Okay, so we can have different kind of music, different histories, different instruments. There's an ability to create simple music videos with classical music and animation that we would, in fact, add a content management system if we had the opportunity, which is our discussions that we're now going on. So kind of where we end up with is thinking about a couple of things. One, what kind of a requirement is fun? Okay. That is, we always think of requirement, well, it's got to go from like, it has a functional performance, it's got this, it's got to be easy to use, and then we get to it's got to be fun. Okay. So, and merely calling it a non-functional requirement does not give you any insight. Okay. It's something you have to actually put out there and find out. So you should come and try this. Find out if it's fun. But do think about, well, if I was 10 years old, would this be fun? Okay. Also part of what we see here, and this is increasingly coming up in the context of software engineering in games, is that building games is how to apply human-computer interaction principles through software engineering. So game design is really about combining software engineering and HCI. And that one of the things that we've done as a takeaway is to sort of say that, well, software engineering also helps us think of this rather than as a point solution, as a platform. So with that, I thank you for your time and attention.